Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Real Talks podcast. This week, in the science room of School Pole in Limerick, I got a fascinating insight into the mind of Clare's Carol O'Leary, who outside the comfort of the classroom has become one of the leading voices demanding and creating meaningful change for female sport in Ireland. Like many, Carol's passion for the GA took hold at a young age, but her development into the authentic and inspiring leader she is today wasn't without complications. Over the course of this conversation, we talked about the search for self-confidence, the difficulty in trying to fit in, and how turning to drink and failing college eventually forced her to look within for answers that she craved. We also chatted about the power of life coaches, social media pressures, and how important it is to appreciate and respect the uniqueness of others. This podcast is brought to you by the Women's Gaelic Players Association in conjunction with Pat the Baker. Their partnership through the Be Healthy Wholemeal Loaf actively supports ladies football and camogie players in every intercounty squad. The WGPA Player Development Programme provides services such as scholarships, careers advice and counselling to help members be their best in both their personal and professional lives. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget there are 17 previous podcasts with top-class GA heroes like Kevin McMenamin, Oisin McConville, Eamon McGee, Cora Stondon, Breege Corkery and Noel Connors, who discuss so many different life lessons that they've learned over the years. You can find them on iTunes or SoundCloud by searching for Real Talks or just head over to realtalks.ie. My name is Alan O'Mara and you are listening to episode 18 of the Real Talks podcast with Carol O'Leary. I was going to start, so over the last couple of days I was obviously looking up things online and reading different things and match reports, and it was one of the funnier ones I've come across, but I just need to ask, do you know who edited your Wikipedia page?
I actually don't, but I do feel like it was some students who have passed through this room, because no, I've got a lot of feedback about my puns and their failure to be funny and stuff.
No, I got a good chuck. It was like, so they say loads of nice things and all you've won and all that stuff, and then it was like, so then mentioned cat aficionado, and so if it's a school student, they're obviously tuned into their English, but and I was like, is now a science teacher and makes many awful puns. Yeah. But now I got that one out of the way, I'll start off properly. Yeah. Look, I know from the one thing that really struck me as I was reading was just the different levels that you've played at, so football and camogie. For Clare, huge success with your club. I suppose I was just going to start off just taking it all the way back to the beginning and sort of, was sport something from an early age that you recognised you had a passion for and was something that you were good at?
Yeah, definitely it was something from an early age anyway. You know, everyone we were always out on the lawn playing hurling and things like that, but I wouldn't say I was always really good at it either. You know, I tried really hard and I was training really hard, and you know, I'd be out hurling every day. But yeah, like that in primary school we had loads of encouragement, and that was probably a huge thing. And you know, I was always kind of, now I went to a tiny primary school, but from there,
how small are we talking?
Like, I had 7 in my class and it was the biggest in the school. So, you know, we went from there, then I went into secondary school, and that was probably the start of it, because like our secondary school camogie team was probably the most professional setup I've been in, and you know, we had a great man, Colm Handley, and was over us, and honest to God, you wouldn't believe it, we were training weekends, midterms, you know, before school, after school. It was just unbelievable, and the amount of time and work he put into every one of us was unbelievable. And you know, you can see the progression. So many girls from that team went on to play camogie with the Clare senior camogie team. And, you know, Chloe Morey was one of the girls on that team. She's gone to get an all-star, and the same with Moira McGrath. And, you know, I think that was the huge kind of catalyst in my sporting career was Cayman's. Like, you know, in camogie and football, Ger Keane was kind of the man who got me playing football in Cayman's and giving me a bit of direction what to actually do with it and not just get it and kick it. So, no, definitely I was really lucky in the people who I met kind of along the way, and my coaches, and in my own club as well. You know, we had so much support, and we were lucky in that as we went up along, we won every championship kind of in front of us in both codes. And, you know, it's very easy to keep playing and keep training when you're winning so much.
Yeah, the winning feeling obviously definitely helps. But it was interesting, so that sort of, you start to play first year in secondary school, and obviously that's a big transition for everybody when they're leaving. So if it's a small primary school like you were coming from, you're stepping into a bigger environment where you've gone from being, say, the oldest in the school to the youngest. We all relate to that because we all sort of been through it in a different way. But it's like, was Camogie around that time? Obviously the environment was good, but was that a place where you found a little bit of that sort of belonging and sort of a group of people that you blended in with or fitted in with? If
Definitely, yeah. I think all of my friends that I even have still are all from that under 12 and under 14 Camogie team that we went up along with. And, I think that was it. We were lucky that we were so involved and so intense that, we were such good friends. We were spending every day together. And that was really my only interest in secondary school then was camogie and football. And, the books were kind of a backseat with that.
That's the one, it is one of the beauties about, I suppose, sport in school, and that you get that time away. And it's probably the first time you get that sort of, if it's trips away to games and sort of being a group. That was obviously something that stuck with you and it progressed for you. I suppose towards the end of school, you've come in first year, you've had that experience and you really liked it, you've clicked in. Towards the end of school then, is it something that's become more serious in your own life? And are you taking it more serious by that stage?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was number one. And especially, I started playing senior camogie with my club when I was 13 and we were winning championships. My first year on the panel, we got to an All-Ireland club final. And
would you were you playing at this age group? Or?
I would have been kind of on and off the team at that age group.
But you were in and around.
So from there, that was maybe second year, I'd say. And from there then I was on the, making the senior team after that. And I was coming into a setup where everyone was so serious and it was just the natural thing was to win championships and it was the natural thing was to just, to work so hard. So it was brilliant to be introduced to that culture and I was really lucky. And definitely it got really serious in that, I would be totally obsessed with it in 5th and 6th year and probably reflected in my leaving cert results as well. But and I was playing with a good Clare under 14 and then under 16 teams. We won an under 16 All Ireland with Clare football and we won an under 16 Munster A championship as well. And it was again like that. It was just every night was training and all that kind of stuff.
When I was reading a piece you did with, I think it was Marie Crowe for the Irish Independent. I think it was that one, but there was a line in it that was, you found the cornerback slot at an early age and never budged.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk me through that one a little bit, because obviously, I would get it a bit myself. So people say when you start playing goals, that's mad. Why would you want to be there? And sometimes cornerbacks get that too. Talk to me a little bit about sort of what it was that appealed to you, that even from a young age, and even to this day, what it is about that position that you like and enjoy.
In primary school, I thought I was, the bee's knees and was playing midfield and wanted to be everywhere. And then when I went into primary game, I was put cornerback. And from there then, in every Clare team I've been in, it's been cornerback up along, just left cornerback the whole time,
Did they change number 2 and 4? Or just the same
4,
number?
4. Every Clare jersey has number 4. But of course, you want to, in some games, you want to say, I want to get in the action, whereas then as you get older, it's nice to have that kind of comfort in where, you know where you're going to be and you know what your job is. And you'll be marking the same girls as you go up along as well and things like that. And I think really cornerback is kind of it's more of a mental position than a physical position a lot of the time. And it is about your mental strength and, getting on top of an opponent and kind of, not being afraid to drive on then from there, and if something does go wrong, you have to kind of get it all going again and get your head up and get everyone else organised again as well. So, I was lucky enough that it used to be great. It was a real novelty playing there for Clare, and then when I go back to my club, I get to run around a small bit again. But this year they put me back in the full back line again. I said I must be slowing down a bit. That I'm there now for good.
You touched upon it there around the mental side of it, of our games when you're playing, and there is that type of, if it's the spoiler type or if it's the creative type, and there's loads of different ways to play probably every position. But as you found your own style, was it embracing that mental side of it and that is it the spoiler type, or just trying to get a better sense of where you're coming from with that?
Definitely. I think that I was always really confident, and, you know, I would have really good support from home, and, you know, they'd say, oh, you know, you're going to go out there and you're going to get inside our head, you know, and that's always something that I kind of looked on now is, you know, that I'm not panicking about anything. I'm just really confident in myself, and I know myself that, yeah, I know what I'm here to do, and I know what I'm going about, you know. So definitely, I think that a cornerback anyway, I'm looking to try and keep scores to a minimum anyway. But yeah, definitely not letting anyone get the better of me.
Yeah. Well, no, I said, and I was reading that same piece that I referenced there at Marie. One of the things that it jumped out at me was that was brought up, and you might explain it or might push it back on it a little bit, but just you got called up to the Clare senior panel in 2009, but you chose to leave it soon afterwards. And just the reason that I'm sort of, the angle that I'm coming at here from is, even in the previous couple minutes you've been talking there, like the passion that you have for playing and the enjoyment you get, like it oozes off you, like just big smiles on your faces and you're thinking of different things. And it's curious because I think like lots of us will go through it at different times when we question when we're playing and what's going on and what's happening. What was going on with yourself at that time that, you know, because you were only in the door as a young person, and it probably was, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it probably was the dream to an extent to get in there. And then when you got there was a decision to leave. So what?
Yeah, so I went from, like you said, it was the dream. You know, I'd gone all the way up along, and, you know, when I was minor, I was playing with the Clare second team, the intermediate team, and then, you know, I got asked to play with the seniors, and I was delighted. And I went in and I was training hard, but I started college that year as well. I was starting in UL. And to be honest with you, I was just drinking mad the whole time. My lifestyle went totally off the rails. And I'd moved in with a lot of people that I knew them, and I didn't really, they wouldn't have been great friends of mine at the time. And I was kind of surrounding myself with people who, they weren't in those kind of circles, and they were totally had different lifestyles to what I would have come from. And I totally lost the run of myself. I was out every night of the week, and, you know, I didn't even know what I was doing. It wasn't like I was happy and that I was loving it. I was just kind of going with the flow. And, you know, at the time I was still hurling well. I didn't see that it was taking any kind of effect on me. And I got my debut against Galway. It was my first start, first round of the league, delighted. And I went out and I got absolutely destroyed. Now, we got destroyed as a team, but I got taken off, and, you know, that was, you know, I was upset, but I stayed with it, and I was still training away, and I didn't play another minute of the league anyway. And, you know, it was taking its toll. We were losing most matches by 20 or 30 points at the time as well. And, you know, as we went in after...
Why was that? Why was it not firing so badly?
It was just at the time, Clare Camogie was really... We'd come up from junior to senior, and we'd skipped, you know, a division and things, and it just wasn't... We didn't have what it took at the time. So, like, you know, we were going to Wexford and getting hammered and Cork and everywhere. And, so, like, as that was going along, I was basically just had lost the run of myself, and I decided anyway, no, I've had enough of this. I was packing it in, and I did. And then, you know, I think everything kind of fell apart at that time. You know, that had been the one thing that I had really wanted and had really strived for. And then, you know, I ended up failing first year of college as well. And, you know, I didn't know what I was doing with myself, or, you know, I didn't know what I wanted. I had kind of said, oh, you know, it's only camogie, like, but I was only just trying to tell myself that, like, as well. And to be honest, I was really lucky that summer came and I moved home.
Got back home.
And again, I was going back training really hard with my camogie and football team, my club. And we went on, we had a good year. We won the senior camogie, and we won our football championship as well. And that was grand. I went and I did my repeats, failed them. And again, you know, it wasn't getting much easier, but I remember, like, you know, my father would be very, very cross, man, when he'd have to be. And I remember, like, you know, telling him I failed my repeats, and I was worried he'd be cross, but it was even worse as he was just, you know, he didn't get cross at all. He was just disappointed. And he was like, what are you going to do with yourself? And I just remember not knowing what I was going to do. So I decided anyway, I'd go back, and I repeated first year, and I was only repeating one module at the time. So it was about 4 or 5 hours a week, and it was, very handy. But
you're back living in Limerick again?
I was living at home.
Oh, you stayed at home? Okay.
Yeah. And that was grand. I went back, and I went playing with UL, and I was really delighted I got asked to play football for Clare that year. And that was probably the big, huge change in my life, because, it really, I was really shocked, to be honest, that we got asked. We'd won the intermediate championship, and I didn't see it coming at all. I had never really thought that I'd be playing senior football. But I said, yeah, grand, I'd give it a go. I had a lot of free time. So I went playing it, and it was brilliant. It brought me to a level of fitness I'd never been at before, and it really got me to refocus and, look at what I wanted. And to be honest, everything really picked up from there. Like it was the start. I went and I played with UL then for the year, and again, I was expecting to be asked back to Clare Camogie the following year, and I wasn't.
Right.
And it was difficult because a lot of my club mates had been asked, and I knew the people thought I was a bit of a loose cannon, right? But I thought I was good enough, and it was disappointing. But we won the league with Clare ladies, and I had a good year with them, and I got to meet so many great people as well. Then the following year we went on, and I didn't get asked to play for Clare Camogie again. And, I was thinking, geez, like we'd won probably 2 or 3 championships with the club, and I still wasn't been asked. And we played a challenge match between UL and Clare Camogie that winter, and I said I was going out for blood anyway. Right. And after the match, they ended up
What poor soul were you marking that?
Yeah, I know. But I was really lucky that John Carmody had just taken over the team that year, and he came up to me after the match and he asked me to play camogie, and I said, "Oh, I'm still playing with Clare footballers," and he said, "Yeah, but I want you," and I went, and thankfully I've been there since. But definitely it was hard, and it had its ups and downs and everything like that, but that was the start of my Clare Camogie really then. From then, I suppose
before we move on to that sort of, I think you mentioned the word there, sort of the change, or where there was a change as such, be it in your own mind or be it in general, like just sticking with that. I suppose that first year in college and it's a difficult transition for an awful lot of people, and one that loads struggle with. So what are the reasons that you feel there is a struggle there? Because it's something I know a lot of young people listen to this too, this podcast, and look, I do work in schools too, and I'm always trying to prepare, especially leaving cert, where it's like, listen, things are going to change, and change is good at times, and you're going to grow and evolve, but by nature a lot of people do struggle, in particular our first year in college. What do you think it is about that, or what is the difficulty there?
When I was in secondary school, again, like I said, it was really, totally obsessed with camogie. I knew exactly who I was, I knew exactly what I wanted. Then when I went to college, it was kind of, it was so unfamiliar, and then it was like, I was just kind of thrown in at the deep end of who I was kind of spending all my time with now, and like what I wanted to do and everything. And I think it was just that I was so unsure of myself, and I don't know what it is. I won't say social anxiety, because I'm not, I wouldn't see myself as an anxious person at all. And I'd see myself as, pretty outgoing and things, but still, I think there's something there that I don't know if I didn't understand, if I couldn't get myself across in the way that I wanted. And I think it was just a case of, I don't want to say being a sheep, but that's what it is really a lot of the time. And, there's so many, especially I think in girls, between ladies football and camogie, there's so many players that, come to minor and you think, yes, this is going to be our superstar now. And then it's college finishes people a lot of the time. And I think it's just, there's so much going on and there's so much change that it's, really you have to be so sure of yourself and what you want in order to manage yourself, I think. For me, I think moving home was probably the best thing. You know, I wasn't eating pot noodle every day either. It's probably another factor. But no, I think it is just, you know, and it's not even like, you know, trying to be cool, but it's just trying to fit in and trying to, you know, to go along with everything else. Like, I wouldn't have been somebody who'd even go out much really before I went to college, because it was all camogie, and you know, I would have been young as well going in. And then when you go and you have this freedom of, yes, like, you know, we'll go out every night, and you know, it wasn't like, oh, every night was brilliant, because it wasn't. No. You know, I can tell you now, the icon in Limerick gets pretty old, like. But yeah, it was just I don't know what exactly you'd call it, like, but it's just a case of not being confident in yourself, maybe, or something. And I think it's only as you get older and you look back that you realise, oh Jesus, what's it doing altogether? Like, you know,
but everyone probably, like, I think everyone probably feels that to some degree. But I just thought it was a really interesting sort of thing to explore. And like you said about trying to fit in, like, deep down, nearly everybody wants to fit in some way, shape or form. But it's obviously, I suppose, from what you said, like, you obviously have a huge more sense of self-awareness now and around your identity, say. I'm picking that up off you. You can tell me shut up if I'm wrong. But I suppose knowing what you know now and having that sort of self-awareness and being much stronger and more reassured in who you are and what you're about, if you could go back to that younger Carol who maybe is in that house in UL looking around going, what the fuck's going on here and what am I doing here, or just going to flow. And I suppose an interesting question to see what you say, but if you could sort of give that person a piece of advice and if you could rewind the clock back, what would you say? Like,
to be honest, I always say that I have no regrets in what's happened or how I have progressed, or, you know, and even when the worst things happen, I always say, you know, no regrets, and just it's just another chapter, like, you know. But if I had to go back, I would probably just, you know, be like, looking at what do you actually want, you know, and how are you going to achieve this, and is this actually what you want, like, you know, and why are you doing it, kind of a thing. But I think the best thing would probably be just, like, I suppose, looking at who are you hanging around with as well. Are these the type of people that you want to be? And you know, the way they say, oh, you turn into all these people you hang around with. And I definitely think that's 100% true. Like, you know, in comparison to the people I'd be surrounding myself with since, I'm so lucky that I have so many great friends who are, like, you know, even if they're not sporting, they are so successful in different areas of their life, and they're so driven. And, you know, I think that you have to surround yourself with winners to be a winner, and that doesn't necessarily mean people with all these medals, you know. It has to be people who are looking to move forward the whole time, like, you know, and that they want to achieve something and they want to make a difference, you know, and that's not going to be happening in the Icon or in Trinity Rooms or somewhere like that.
No, like, that's it's a really, really interesting point, like, because, like, I suppose, and the people maybe you want to hang around with will be very different to who someone else wants to hang around, and it is sort of back to that self-awareness thing, and there's not a right or wrong in an awful lot of these things, and it is around identity, and as you said, sort of what you want and where you want to go. And even as you were chatting there, I remember watching this documentary, I think it was like the Class 92 or one of them, or something, was Gary Neville was in it, like, and he basically just said that, like, at 16 or 17 he just decided that, like, I'm not hanging around with these people anymore. And I was just thought, like, wow, like, to have that sort of conviction and that awareness at that age for what he wanted to be, like, there was nothing wrong with these people, they just weren't matching his values and his thing. I suppose, like our teenager, I suppose when we're teenagers, are we meant to have that? Are we meant to understand that? Or do we have to get lost a little bit to sort of get clarity on it? What do you think?
To be honest, sometimes when I'd be talking to some of the students, like, you know, I'd be going off giving these lectures and, you know, they're only delighted that they don't have to do chemistry for an hour, that it's just me waffling on. But, you know, I'm trying to be all deep and meaningful, giving them all these insights. But I don't know, I think sometimes you have to kind of... you have to, and I wouldn't even call it fail to succeed, but just, you know, you have to learn, and you learn by doing a lot of the time. And, you know, I know it can be difficult, but I don't know, a lot of 16-year-olds probably can't see that. And especially, you know, I was probably 16 in a pre-social media age as well, which is, I think that social media has just kind of accelerated this want and need to be accepted and liked and, you know, to fit in and stuff. So I think definitely it's probably getting harder rather than easier at the moment.
Is the social media thing, is that something you notice even been in and around, like you're obviously in the school environment every day, and it's something that comes up on my radar. Like, I only went to schools, might only be there for an hour or two and I'm gone, but even students would raise it with me as well. Is that something that you pick up on and notice? Like,
oh, definitely. Yeah. Like if you take a phone off a first year girl, they'll bawl crying because you'll ruin their streaks. And it's just like, this is bananas, you know, that why aren't you eating breakfast? Oh, because I'm doing my streaks, and things like that is just crazy. And it's totally obsessive. And even
for anyone that hasn't a clue what we're talking about, what are streaks?
Snapchat streaks.
There's going to be someone sitting home listening going, what are they talking about?
But no, I think it's gone crazy. It's gone, like, you know, really. And even I find myself, like, lots of people my age, like, sometimes I can be obsessive with things as well, like, you know, but you have to just switch off as well. I think it's gone totally ridiculous. Like, people don't appreciate anything in life or in real time anymore. It's just all social media and, oh, better get a picture for Instagram, better get a picture for this. And yeah, it's not just teenagers, you know, it's people.
Definitely not.
Yeah, every age group. But no, I think definitely that social media is a huge kind of issue for a lot of teenagers now, yeah.
Go back to the stage maybe you were in when you are having a bit of, like, I'm not going to say identity crisis, but there is that sort of sense of what am I at, where am I going, what am I doing? And you referenced there, but the club at home becomes a real, I don't know, like a safe haven. I don't want to use any of them stupid words, but, you know, it's a kind of a glue, I think.
Yeah.
Or it comes across as this sort of glue that sort of keeps you together when you're trying to figure out the rest of stuff. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, in like my club, I knew since I've been playing with my club in Newmarket, you know, it has been really a rock of just being steady. And, you know, I've had such great, between mentors and coaches and teammates and everyone, like, you know, it has been great to be able to go back to that all the time because, you know, and we'll say, I know at that stage in my Clare Camogie that was difficult, but, like, you know, there's difficulties every year, like, you know, like, even when I could be playing at my best and then all of a sudden it's just, oh my God, I'm exhausted, I need a break from this. And, you know, like, there'll be times every year that I might need to take a little break, or I might need to just, you know, take a little holiday for myself or something like that, you know, to get myself back to where I need to be and things, you know. And, like, there's always doubts and different things. Like, you know, I broke my foot last year, and, you know, I remember I was so confident that I had a good league before it, and, you know, I broke my foot, and then the minute I was coming back from it, I was taking my boot off, and it was just doubts. Like, you know, I was taking it off the week before Munster Championship, and, you know, doubts that I never would have had before were just setting in because I hadn't played camogie in, you know, 5 or 6 weeks or whatever it was. And, you know, that's when then I need to take a little break and just, you know, reassess. It's camogie, like, it's only a game, I'll be fine, and all those things, like, rather than building it up because of, you know, just watching training for all those times.
No, it's an interesting one because, like, so obviously you come from a place where primary school and secondary school where it is quite not all consuming, but it's a very prominent part of the place that you're in, and you love it and you embrace it. And then obviously college comes along and it's this, like, big bad world you're thrown into, and you're like, actually camogie's only like this little thing in the whole bit. Look at the big bad world out there, look at all these people, look at all these things. But I suppose it seems you're sort of at a stage now where, like, you've got good perspective on both sides, and, like, camogie or football, whatever it is each time, it's actually your choice now. It's not I have to go there, I have to be there. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, exactly. No, it is. It is definitely a choice. And, like, I don't think you could be doing it if it wasn't something that you really wanted to do and really wanted to be successful in. But, yeah, I definitely think that, like, in the last few years, that as I have kind of developed other areas of my life, my camogie has probably gotten better. And, you know, it's easier to just go out and enjoy it and not be stressed about it. I don't have time to be worried about it and things. And like, you know, I'm, whether it's going to work or whether it's, you know, going off and planting trees or something like that. Like, you know, I have a lot going on outside of it now, and it makes it way easier.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. It's such a good balance. You know, if I lose a match, it's not the end of the world. I go home and, you know, I'm straight into something, like I'm doing something else, and I'm not sitting there thinking about it or anything like that. It's definitely just a part of my life. Like, you know, it is a big part, and I do put a lot of my time into it and a lot of focus and things, but no, it's definitely a lot healthier mentally and physically, I'd say, having external interests.
When do you think that kind of, like, that awareness of having other things around you, when did that sort of creep into your mindset, and I suppose, like, where did it come from?
Well, to be honest, when we were at home, I come from a farm, and my father would have us out doing something every day, and like, even we lost the county final this year, and that evening my father brought me out to the farm looking at a beehive, you know, like, as in, it's always like he was always keeping us on our feet. And the same thing, like, you know, once I kind of, probably in recent years, I've gotten more of my own interests that I have had. Now that I have a job and a bit of money, it's easier to go and expand your interests. Like, but
so what are they?
We'll say that I would grow a lot of plants and a lot of kind of fruit and veg.
In and around your home house?
In around my house, yeah. And, you know, like, I bought a greenhouse, and then I went and I have hens and I have ducks and all this kind of, you know, funny stuff. But yeah, I think it's so much easier when, you know, you have something actually to do, and especially when I have the whole summer off as well, and midterms and everything. It's great to have, you know, I know what I'm doing during the day, and I'm not thinking about, a match at the weekend. Like, you have to keep busy and things like that as well.
Was like that example you gave there of a clear passion and a hobby that you have that's away from sport, and, you know, just actually has the ability to zone you out of a load of different shit that'll be wrecking your head at times. Like, is that something that was always there? Did you have that from a young age? Obviously, growing up on a farm, was that something that you're...
Yeah, definitely. I was farming every day, really, for, you know, from when I was born, really. My mother went, after her maternity leave, she went back working in the bank, and my father used to be my babysitter. I used to be down sitting on the floor of the Zetters where they used to have the baby
You were
seat.
his assistant.
Yeah, and that was it. You know, from there I was brought up in the tractor, really, and I was farming. Like, even in secondary school, I'd be farming all the time, and, you know, like, my father broke his hip at one stage, and I used to be milking the cows after school and things, and we went along, and then, you know, I think that was probably something that I lost when I went to college. In, you know, it's not cool to be a farmer.
That's what I was literally just going to ask you about. Like,
and even in secondary school, because I went to, like, you know, it was quite a rural, like, it was in Caymans and Shannon, and there was a lot of, like, the catchment area would be a lot of kind of rural Newmarket, 6 Mile Bridge, Cratloe and things. And, you know, I always knew how I was, and I was totally happy with it. And, you know, if anybody said anything about farmers, you know, I'd puck the head off them, like, you know. But then when I went to college, like, you know, it's not cool anymore, like, and that kind of thing. And that was something that I was probably really sad that I lost a little bit. And then when I went repeating that first year, I was spending my whole time farming again, and
reconnecting that side. Like.
Yeah, it was great, you know. And then since there, like, to be honest, I probably wouldn't be at the level of actual farming with my dad since with intercounty senior camogie and football. I'm gone every evening and every day of the week, really. But it was definitely like something that I've kept up the whole way along, and then it's just developed into certain areas. Like, you know, I would start reading books then about all these natural foods and, you know, all these anti-medicines and anti-chemicals and all this. And it's rich coming from a chemistry teacher, I know. But no, I think it's developed. It's kept developing, and, you know, it's really snowballed. Yeah. And, you know, every Saturday I go to the milk market in Limerick. I come home with a different plant, and it's just, you know, it's ongoing. But yeah, it's great.
You know, I suppose, like, the reason that that I pushed into that one a little bit is, I suppose, the whole, even when I start making these, and this is number, I'll be on now 18, like, so going back, like one of the major things I just wanted to do was just help people understand that, like, right, you might be really good at sport and you're an athlete, but you're also like a person too. And like what you're talking through there, and you obviously have a clear love for that and interest for it. Like, I haven't a clue what you're talking about half the time, like, but like that's 100%, like that's absolutely okay, and I can respect that and go like, good for you. And like what I have will be something different. So there's a lot of it comes back. Like, just to get your opinion on it, come back to those sort of teenage or sort of adolescent years, and just when you're developing, you're trying to figure stuff out. Like you referenced once or twice that like sometimes we all do stuff that maybe aren't cool according to to who, and like we sort of all let ourselves fall into, like, you know, we grow up watching American TV and American movies, and I'm going off on a big tangent here, but like, so you can have jocks over there and you have the nerds over there and you have like the cheerleaders over there, whatever it may be. And I always found, even for myself, that like as a person that was good at sport, that like, okay, I had to hide the other stuff now because I'm in that group, and being in that group flames your ego and it gives you attention and identity. But like, I think it's really, really important that if someone's listening, or that they don't bury other strands in them if they know that they're there. Do you get me?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that you have to be so much more than just one thing. Like that can't be your whole identity. And I think that was something that's really kind of, you know, that I've probably only realised in the last few years, of like, you know, that you're not just this, like, you know. So then when you get knocked out of the championship, like, who are you? Like, what happens? Like, you know, and what's life after September? You know, that kind of way. And, you know, even like I have so many friends who have no interest in sport, like, and they'll still be really supportive of me, and, you know, they'll come to some matches and, you know, socialise with people there. But they definitely, I think, you know, you have to be so much more than just one label that you put on yourself. And like, you know, I change from, like, it still changes all the time. Like, you know,
it's in, keep changing.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be dynamic the whole time, you know, and you have to be open to that as well, because at different stages, you know, you're a different person. Like, you know, I'd go through stages there, I'll have dreadlocks and braids in my hair and all these things, and then it's like, oh, better tidy myself up again, like, you know, that kind of way. And yeah, it is like, you know, you have to be open to change as well the whole time. The
what you gave good examples there, sort of building yourself up around sport, and obviously, as you said, it still is quite one of those central pillars. And you've referenced friends a couple of times there, and having that support network. Is there anything else sort of in and around there that you've helped, that you've discovered or found along the way? Just what strand of your life that helps bring that balance, helps keep you sane at times, might drive you insane at other times?
Well, you know, like I said, I think actually getting outside sometimes is just what I need to be away from people and, you know, just have a bit of, you know, independent thinking, I think. But definitely, I personally think, you know, I really love education. And I know, while I might have had a pretty rocky
start,
actual education between secondary school and college, but it was only when I left that I kind of realised how much I liked it. And, you know, I went back and obviously did the Jim Madden leadership course with you, and I loved that. I thought it was brilliant. And then from there I went on and I did, you know, like a course in sports psychology, and now I'm doing a master's in nutrition, and I love it, you know. And I think it is definitely something that I want to keep doing, is I love reading, I love learning, like, you know, and what it is stressful, and, you know, get sick of writing essays and milk and different things like that at the moment, but it is something that I really love and I really value as well. And I think it's only when I've left education that I realise the value in learning and all of that. And yeah, I really do appreciate kind of, you know, just opening my mind to different ideas, like, you know, rather than just being, you know, oh no, this is what's the way it is, like, you know. So yeah, definitely, I think that would be something that I find really interesting, is just reading and just kind of opening my eyes a little bit more.
Yeah, like it's obviously, it's part of your own growth and development, but just like, what was the first kind of education experience that you sort of, the penny dropped, like, oh, like I can actually enjoy this, or I can, like, I'm doing stuff here that's exciting, that it's like empowering? Because like school, like obviously we're sitting in the classroom here and having this, but like you don't always get that in school, because you have to be there, and then you sort of go to a college course and you're not sure what you signed up for. What was the education choice that, and I use the word choice on purpose because you obviously choose to go back. What What was the one that sort of flipped you and said, actually, I can enjoy this? And
to be honest, when I was in probably maybe third or fourth year of my undergrad doing science teaching, I loved it. Like, you know, loads of people were getting really stressed out about exams, and I was just loving it. You know, I loved going, and we were doing modules like biochemistry and things, and everyone was, oh, it's so hard. Like, you know, and I was actually like, I couldn't wait to know about it. Like, you know, and there was loads of different aspects that we did because, you know, it's a very broad course, and you know, I really enjoyed it. And even afterwards I was saying, oh, I'd love to go back and do a master's, but I wasn't sure of what area. Like I didn't know what to focus on, so I didn't want to just go back. And of course I wanted money, and you know, the job was going to be so much easier and everything, but then I got to the job and it's not. But so I decided anyway to go back with nutrition, because in my undergrad course, I think I'd really loved that whole kind of biochemistry area. And then when my other interests kind of fold into that as well, with the, you know, pushing veg on people and all that kind of stuff. But it is kind of all interlinked in some bit of a way. But I think that was the real kind of actually starting to enjoy it rather than having to do it.
No, it's obviously like it is part of your growth and sort of development, and each one probably leads to the next one, and you know, adds in. I suppose like the gym ad and leadership program that you referenced there, I suppose is something that was a joint WGPA initiative, and obviously we were in the same class on that. That was year 2, and look, there's been actually a couple of the others on the podcast have done it as well. Noah Connors did it. It's 1. Kev Mack 2, Michael Fennelly 3, someone else. Brenda Maher did it as well. So there's actually quite a few. What was it about that sort of thing that you enjoyed?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know what I was signing up for with it. I had seen that, you know, I'd seen like one picture up from the previous class, and I was like, oh, what are they doing? But I looked and I applied. I just said, oh, it'll be lovely for the CV, you know, perfect teaching booster. CV. And to be honest, it was such a game changer. It was absolutely unbelievable. I started off, and again, you know, just expected to go, and on the first day, like, you know, didn't want to be asked any questions, didn't want to have to
leave
speak.
Me alone.
Just hi, you know, whatever. And I kept looking at the floor. But no, it was only kind of as you got into it. And I think the best part of it for me was I met with my coach. So again, didn't want to meet with the coach.
Right. What was your initial apprehension to meeting the coach out of interest?
I just thought it was going to be a lovey-dovey kind of
airy
thing.
fairy.
And I didn't know what to expect.
Okay.
And anyway, I went down, and we'd no plan of what we were talking about. And he said, do you know what do you want to talk about? And we met in the Horse and Jockey near Thurdis. And it was grand. I just said, oh, no, I've nothing I want to talk about. And we're sitting in the lobby anyway. And, you know, I was looking around, looking at people, looking at us. And we started chatting anyway. He told me a few things about yourself. And 2 hours later anyway, I was sitting there bawling, crying on the couch. And I was like, I came out and I rang. I was text Chloe Morey and Orla Duggan, who were on the course as well. I was like, don't go. I said, what just happened? You know, but
and what did just happen?
Yeah,
Why?
I don't know. I was just we talked about everything. You know, I talked to him about school and college, and you know, different things that had happened, and you know, I talked about my family and loads of personal things as well. And you know, I don't know, I didn't expect it anyway, but it was brilliant. And then after that, I think no matter what it was, I would consult with him about, you know, so like I was coming for my job re-interview to get my job in the second year here. And, you know, I rang him, and it was brilliant that I was able to talk to him about that. I was able to talk to him about, you know, if I was really, like, whatever it was, you know, I could kind of get his opinion on it. And you know, he wouldn't say a lot in terms of, he wouldn't never say, oh, this is what you need to do. Yeah. He would just like kind of lead me along with questions. And then I'd be like, oh, no, this is what I need to do. But I think that was a brilliant resource, because I wouldn't have been very open talking about certain things. And I think that was probably one of the that was a real turning point for me, in that it's okay to talk about these things.
Yeah.
And, I really opened up then about certain topics. And then along with that, I think it was obviously very good to be able to, some of the speakers were really good, and that interview process was as bad and all as it was really good. And no, I think it is definitely, I recommend it to so many people. And in Clare Camogie, like Myra McGrath did it this year as well. And I think there's more girls have applied for it, because there's been such good feedback from the three of us that did it. Like
it obviously, people, you do a leadership course and everyone thinks there's going to be slides everywhere. Like, this is how to be a leader. Like, look at Alex Ferguson, look at Steve Jobs, all these fellas. But like, from what you're saying there, it was actually a much more internal thing and actually challenging you a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I was expecting that as well, that, right, these are the slides, learn them off, and we'll do a test, and that's fine. Like, I'm able for that. But I didn't really, like, at the start when it was that kind of up in the air, I was thinking, oh God, like, what is this? Yeah. But no, it was brilliant. It was like much more than I could have ever imagined it would be. And it was, along with actually looking at myself as a leader and looking at other leadership qualities, like I remember going home and like any like meeting I'd go to, it could be at a club executive, and I'd be thinking, this is such a terrible leadership quality, or like such, like, I was really sizing up for everyone after that. But no, it is, in that front as well, it is really good. And, even, you think to yourself at times when I want to go and roar at everyone at training, like, I think, right, that's not the best thing to do, like, or whatever it is, and different situations you think, okay, like, this is how we need to deal with different people differently and whatever. But it does highlight a lot of things, and it really does develop you personally as a leader. But I think it gets you to think about yourself a lot as well. And, it was an eye opener. It was really good.
That process with the coach, say that you reference there, so you go in and you are probably to an extent a bit of a closed book. You're you are, and you're sitting there, and so whatever way he's leading those questions, he's unhinging you slowly but surely. Because like, there's a general perception, and look, this, I obviously call this podcast Real Talks. It's something I really believe in, and having conversations and shooting the breeze and saying what you think. But like, there's a general perception, and I know when you went to schools all the time, girls really good at talking, lads really bad at talking. But like, what you're saying there is actually, it's challenging that a little bit, and because everyone always says that, oh, you girls are way better. Like, but like you said there, it was actually uncomfortable talking about, like, if it was work or family or sport.
Yeah.
I suppose the reason, because I finished off a close question off this was like, I was trying to explain the coaching to someone recently, and he was like, it sounds like counselling, and I was like, well, like, it's not, like, because I was like, okay, I can understand that point of view, but it's a proactive space where it's like, actually, I found it was solutions, I suppose, focused. Is that something that you would have found agreed with, or am I gone off the radar?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, it was, like, we looked at those, we set out a plan and looked at those things that we could actually achieve. And like, they were, obviously when we got given that first, that, you had to fill it out. It's like, okay, and, just make up whatever, like something that I was never going to do. And then actually, when I spent some time with him and we talked about things that could change in my personal life and my family life, and it was brilliant. It was really, really, it is, I know, like, say sometimes he probably thought I needed counselling and he probably was referring me, but no, it definitely is, it is focused in actually like helping you to achieve a goal, we'll say, and in how to help you about it and things. But it was definitely brilliant. It was really good.
Are those learnings you took from not just that phase, but in general that you've had, like, have they, I suppose, informed you and even do you feel it's made you a better teacher? Like,
definitely, yeah. Definitely. I think it's really like opened me up a lot to, just being willing to speak to people openly, and that it's not, like, I'd be pretty easygoing in terms of talking to the students anyway, and but no, definitely, like, I try and get them to do way more now and stuff. And I think it is, like, when I'd be coming home, I came home from the first day, and on the Monday I came in and tried to do the clapping that we did with, what was your
David Brophy.
Yeah. So where he came into the room, said nothing, and was clapping, and I did it with a 6th year chemistry class, and it failed miserably. They all looked at me. There was one German exchange student.
Miss O'Leary's lost the plot.
There was one German exchange student in the class, and she clapped, And then everyone else looked at her, so she stopped clapping, and it was just me. And yeah, it was, it was really good. I think it definitely got me to try a lot of things and be open to being wrong and that it's all okay and, you know, that kind of stuff.
But like the reason I bring up the teaching thing is that, like, I know you'd hear all the times, like, the GA player sister or teacher, like, you literally see half the room roll their eyes and say, oh, not another one, handy job, like, summer's off, play your game, don't really do anything. But, like, there's obviously a whole different strand to teaching where, like, you guys are by nature a lot of the time good role models and people that students look up to, but actually being able to be that positive sort of influence, or I don't know what the best way to phrase is, but is that something that you value and appreciate in the role that you're in now?
Definitely, yeah. I think really it's probably more value to the student to show your kind of, I won't say vulnerability, but like that you are an individual and that you have, you know, different interests as well, and that it's okay, like, not to be perfect as well, like, you know.
Is anybody really?
Yeah, exactly. That you're not trying to put up this front and stuff.
Yeah.
And,
so that's just being real, like, about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think, it is, you know, it is a really important position to kind of show kids and, you know, even show other teachers that it's okay to do certain things and to be happy with yourself, like, you know, and that it's more important than, you know, their grades, really.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it can be hard to be a role model the whole time, and especially, like, you know, it's probably not an issue really with camogie and ladies footballers because, you know, very few people would recognise you, right? But I think it is a lot of pressure for people who can't go outside their door, like if they're a well-known hurler or footballer and things. They can't let their guard down at any stage and stuff like that, you know. But it is hard sometimes. But no, definitely, I think, you have to try and be a role model, and that brings pressure as well sometimes, like, you know. But no, I think sometimes when in my club, it's hard to try and be a role model when, you know, I might be getting sent off or, you know, doing something stupid as well. But, you know, you have to try and show them something positive to aim towards anyway. Yeah,
I get the sense that, like, obviously, like, we go back to what I said earlier on, is that, like, athletes are just people too, and, like, so they don't do the right thing all the time, like, and if they get sent off, like, what about it, like, or if they're out on the town on Saturday night and hammered, like, well, that's their business, like, so I suppose, like, because by nature, like, sometimes are held to, like, separate standards maybe. But I suppose, like, more importantly, in terms of, like, that's sort of the negative, some of the negative stuff that we can give out about, but, like, sticking on the positive side, and even I get the impression that, like, say this conversation we've had here today, and, like, you mentioned vulnerabilities there, talking through different things and different times of your life, like, I get the impression that if I had to try to have this conversation with you 5 years ago, that you would have, like, pegged it out the door and been like, go away. Is that fair? Like,
well, no, it would just be, you know, the cliche, you know, we train really hard and, you know, I love my club and my county and all this. But yeah, definitely, I think in the last, you know, it's been a slow progression and it's been different things at different stages that have been changing. But yeah, definitely, I think I've opened up a lot in being willing to speak to people about different things, and that's just confidence in myself that, you know, I'm happy with who I am, and I'm not, you know, even with the whole college thing, you know, I went through that, I just changed courses, or I just, you know, this and that. Like, I didn't want to see that I had failed because, you know, I felt that was a really bad reflection on me, and, you know, I was embarrassed for myself, I was embarrassed for my family, and the same thing when I left the Clare Camogie panel, I was embarrassed when I wasn't asked back. It was that, I don't want to play anyway.
There's ego and pride and all those
you know,
things. Like.
But now it was only then when you look back that I realised, you know, why would I be embarrassed about that? Like, you know, and, you know, I'm not embarrassed about any of those things. And that's how I'm, like, it took a few years to be able to talk about them, but I am. And, you know, then it was a freedom, it was a release when I was like, I failed, and I got dropped and they took me off, I was crap, and you know, like, you know, when I would be always trying to put up a good guard and a good front, but, you know, now I don't need it, and it's wonderful, it's a freedom, it's release, and it's just great.
That's, I think, it's one of the biggest themes that I've come across a lot of these conversations is about people just trying to get to whatever phase they need to get to, and everyone's authentic version of themselves is different. Like, so it's so completely different. But, like, that's grand, like.
Yeah.
And I genuinely like thank you for that insight on that. I suppose because I think a lot of people will relate to that in different walks of life and from different stages. I was going to finish up just sort of, I suppose there's a top level question too around Ladies GA at the moment. I think obviously 2017 was quite a strong year. I think where there was a significant, there was change in maybe mentality, or if there was certainly more positivity around the coverage of it and a bit more insight. I suppose, how comfortable are you at this stage of life you're at now, being one of those strong voices? I know you're involved with WGPA, and I would have saw the video you did earlier on there behind the player and like through the leadership program. So you've become one of those voices that are asking for change, and not just asking, expecting it and getting it. Like, how comfortable are you in that, and what's it like to be involved in that process of change, if you feel it?
No, I think definitely there has been huge strides made. I think, to be honest, ladies football has always kind of been the driving force. I think that they're kind of ahead of the game a lot of the time with, their Tina G coverage, with their sponsorship, and their sponsorship campaign with Lidl was huge.
So you're saying like Camogie needs to catch up on that to an extent?
Camogie, yeah, definitely. Like Camogie was only in the press really in 2015 and 16 for negative. There was all negativity around it, and that was
obviously the time you had to choose between playing one or the other.
Yeah, choosing, like we had to choose with Clare. 5 of us had to choose between playing a championship camogie match and a championship football match, and then the same year there was the coin toss between ourselves in Dublin to see who gets into an All-Ireland quarter final, and it was just negativity, and it obviously wasn't good for the sport, and it wasn't good for promoting the game either. Like, there was girls in our team who'd been training all year, and obviously it was very frustrating then for them. And, even ourselves, like I was commuting up and down from Sligo at the time, and then to not even be able to play a championship match was really difficult. But, there has been huge change and there has been huge progress. We, with having the games televised, all the knockout games televised, I think was a huge progression, because people got to see that it is, that the standard is there, like, and the skill level is there, and it is going in the right direction anyway. And I think in terms of being, leading it, or, being a voice for it, we're really lucky with the resource that we have in the WGPA. They have done Trojan work, Aoife Lane and Gemma Begley and everyone that's involved in it has done so much work in kind of highlighting the value and the worth of the women's game, that, female athletes are putting in the same hours, and getting a lot less of the rewards and things like that. So they have really kind of started the whole process, I would say. And I don't know how much of a voice I am for it, but I do, like, it's a huge honour to be asked to represent the WGPA, or to represent Camogie or ladies football, whether it's for Clare or on a national stage. And, I'm delighted to get that opportunity, because the game has given me so much, and, I love it. And I do feel that I don't want any girl who plays for Clare to ever have to choose between playing Camogie and football or for any other county. And the same thing, we just want the standards that are, expected, and we want certain things. And there has been huge breakthroughs in, the WGPA funding. The government grant of €8,000 last year for every squad was that was huge for us in Clare Camogie. That was really what made us it made us a lot more professional in being able to access video analysis, being able to access strength and conditioning all year round, being able to access so many different kind of facilities like tracks and astroturfs and stuff. And, they have done so much for the game. And I think it's also brilliant in that they have brought, I don't think I would have gotten an opportunity to do any of these things if I was just waiting based on my, my success rate with Clare Camogie. Because, obviously there'll always be ambassadors like Breach Corkery and Rena and Cora Staunton and everything, because of how much they've won. But the WGPA have given an opportunity to people from so-called weaker counties, and those girls are still putting in the hours. Those girls are still working really hard and dedicating such a huge part of their life for it. And that's one thing, is that they really value every player from, you know, whether you're playing on a junior team or a senior team or whatever it is, that if you're
representing the collective,
if you're that it is, and it has really brought value to the, you know, the junior championship and the intermediate championship, because, you know, those girls are putting in all the work as well. And I think that is probably one of the best things about the development at the moment, that we're not just looking at All-Ireland final day with Cork and Kilkenny, that now so many more players get to be represented, and so many more players are getting recognition and getting these opportunities as well.
Yeah, I think like you captured that sort of progression nicely, and like, is it perfect? Absolutely not. And like, the men's game's far from perfect either. That's a whole different conversation for a whole other day. But I suppose what I was going to say, like, so every couple of months, I know you said with the press covers there, and I felt it was a lot better this year, but every couple of months there's like, you know, a report saying this amount of people are dropping out, this amount of young girls aren't playing anymore. But it's sort of challenging sort of back on that, and your reference there sort of being a voice for WGPA and putting different faces forward and different voices. But like, what are the things that sort of, like, what are the biggest things you've got out of playing, and why would you encourage, if there is a young girl sitting home going, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep playing or not because this is going on, that's going on, like, what would you say to them, and to sort of try and get them to stay involved?
Personally, I feel like I've gotten so much from it. I feel like, first of all, I think probably my best friends are from it. You know, I've been playing with girls my whole life who would definitely be some of my best friends. And, you know, it's not always the girls I'm playing with. Like, you know, myself and Chloe Murray would go and beat the heads off each other playing a club game, and, you know, we'll still literally the next day at Clare training we'll still be, you know, best of friends, and we'll laugh about it, and, you know, we'll be showing off war wounds and stuff. But I think the friendship, and, you know, it's just such a great feeling to put so much work into something, and then to see, you know, like, a success mightn't necessarily be winning the All-Ireland it's not going to be for everyone. No. But, you know, like...
And only one team can
if
win
you can see progression, do you know what I mean? And that might be, right, we know like that we have a good team this year now, and, like, you know, that might be small steps, and, you know, it might be slow and it mightn't happen as fast as you want it. But definitely it does make it so much easier to go back. I think it really does build character, because, you know, it's not easy all the time, and it is, you know, it shows you that if you set goals, that you have to set goals in order to achieve anything. And if you set them, if you go and look at how you're going to achieve them and put a good plan in place, I think anything is achievable. And that's something that I've brought to every aspect of my life now. You know, I have planned, you know, between what I'm going to eat this week to what I'm going to read this week to everything that I do, like, you know, is planned, because I have goals in each one of those areas, and in order to achieve them, like, you know, I have to have a drive and things. And I think those are characteristics that definitely sport has given me. And, you know, as well, it's fitness, and it's just healthy, and it's like, I find definitely the minute that I have my so-called off season, you know, my life changes from being, you know, totally on track to I can't wait to go back then eventually, because, you know, there's only so much chocolate that you can eat and enjoy and stuff like that. But definitely, I think, you know, there are so many benefits, and I know I've only named a couple of them, but I think, you know, it's such a short opportunity, and it's such a small window of when you can actually play and when you can give it your all. And really, you know, I would definitely encourage every single person who has an opportunity to go, and especially if it's to represent your county or your club or whoever it is, you know, to go and make the most of it, because the only regrets you will have will be not playing. You'll never say, oh, I regret playing that. You know what I mean? And I think definitely in my experience anyway, it's been the ones that I haven't played that I've regretted. I never regretted having to drive to Kilkee for training, or having to, you know, go and train for 2 hours or anything like that. Like, you know, it's always, and it always seems harder than it is as well. Once you get into it, it just becomes routine. And of course, if I go and list out what I do in the week, it'll sound absolutely terrible, and, you know, nobody would want to do it. But once you get into it, it's because you know that you're doing it for a reason and you're doing it for a cause, and it's a lot easier when you get into it anyway.
As always, I hope you enjoyed listening to this conversation. I'd just like to take this time to thank Carol for her honesty, for discussing those vulnerabilities and for sharing a number of incredibly valuable life lessons that I know many of you listening will relate to in some way, shape or form. If you did enjoy this episode, don't forget that there are 17 previous podcasts with top-class GA heroes like Kevin McMenamin, Oisin McConville, Amy McGee, Breach Corkery, who sat down for an hour and had a real talk of their own. You can find them on iTunes or SoundCloud by searching for Real Talks, or just go to realtalks.ie to learn more. The podcast is going to be on a little break for the next 2 weeks as I'm out of the country, but I will be back with a couple more unique conversations this side of Christmas. Finally, a big thank you to the WGPA and Pat the Baker for supporting this podcast. Their partnership through the Be Healthy Wholemeal Loaf actively supports ladies football and camogie players in every intercounty squad. The WGPA Player Development Programme provides services such as scholarships, careers advice and counselling to help members be their best in both personal and professional lives. My name is Alan O'Mara, and thanks for listening to the Real Talks podcast.